Hi, I'm Teri Bach, and I'm the host of the Rewrite Your Money Story series. I've noticed in talking with people about money that typically what comes up is how often couples fight about it. Couples have different money styles, and so it's often hard for them to negotiate a way to talk about those differences. And sometimes, although the topic is often money, money isn't really the issue at all. And so I brought together some financial and relationship experts to give us their perspectives on the topic of couples fighting about money and how to help them. Today we're talking with Kyle Benson, who is an intentionally intimate relationship coach, providing practical, research-based tools to build long-lasting relationships. Kyle is best known for his compassion and non-judgmental style and his capacity for seeing the root problem. So welcome, Kyle.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to this. I am very curious what intentionally intimate relationship coach means.
So
about that?
Yeah, of course. So the first is just being intentional. One of the things that happens in romantic relationships is usually in the dating phase when we're kind of falling in love. We're very intentional about going on dates, spending time together, talking about important things, constantly learning about each other. But what happens is marriage, kids come along, both working jobs, dual careers, and staying intentional about the relationship seems to go out the window. You don't really ask each other questions anymore. You're kind of like focused on the task. And there's actually a research study where dual income couples who have two different jobs, couples work, they only spent 35 minutes a week talking, and all that talk was about task, about the relationship. And so the first part is really bringing some intentionality into the romantic relationship, bringing back, building a stronger friendship, talking about how to be mindful in conflict and how to intentionally talk to each other so you can actually use issues and problems in the relationship and turn that into material to actually build a stronger relationship. So I call that conflict skills. And just a whole lot of like being, even with sexuality, being really intentional about making space for you and your partner to feel safe, secure, and really exploring each other's sexuality and each other's presence. Areas, same with money, which we'll be talking about a lot today.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And as almost all of us who work with money say, people will be a lot more open about talking about sex than they will about money. It's just, there's something about talking about money that brings the fear out for a lot of people. Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like a family secret. Right?
It is.
My spending habits, what I have earned. There's a lot of research that supports that. Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you think, from your experience in working with couples, what do you think is the real reason that couples fight about money?
Well, I think they're clashing. They're two different styles of money, right? And each individual comes from a family system that are different families.
Right.
And then they also have their different life experiences. And so how they want to spend their money has different meanings to them.
Sure.
And what happens is couples will fight over how each dollar is spent, but not understand why money should be invested or why it's meaningful for each partner to spend money this way or save money that way.
Right.
And so kind of get very into the problem solving of, we need to put money here, we need to spend money here, compared to actually going, well, why is this important to you? What's meaningful to this? What was money like growing up in your family? Did your parents take you on vacation? Did they buy healthy food? Or did you only eat McDonald's all the time, right? Those different experiences develop our own philosophy of how money should be spent. And when couples do not talk about that, they really butt heads, and it causes issues, particularly around money, to get really unhealthy and toxic.
Totally agree with that. Yeah. I mean, for anything, but money in particular, if you're not talking about it, you don't know where the other person's coming from.
Totally,
And
totally.
you don't always understand their point of view because you didn't have the same life experiences.
Exactly. And that's what, when I look at money, I look at its utility, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is its purpose? What does it serve? And for each romantic partner, it serves a different purpose, right?
Right.
It gives, how we spend money is a reflection of our personal values. And a
Mm.
couple, right, particularly when couples combine income, they then have to decide as a couple what the prioritization of that money is. And so it's really getting the couple clear on their values. Where do we want to spend money? Where do we not want to spend money? Do we
Mm-hmm.
to eat or do we eat to live? Right? Those are very different philosophies on the how you're going to spend your time and how you're going to spend your money. One, you're going
Mm-hmm.
to, five-star restaurants and have 4 or 5 course meals. The other one, you're going to maybe meal prep, spend 100 or $200 a month on food and be fine. So
Right.
again, it's living out the values, but being very intentional about that with your money.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. You often hear, okay, one person is a spender and the other person is a saver. And why do you think that's a bad way of viewing, how couples manage money?
So I think it goes into that thematic of it's this or that, black or white,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's too limiting. It's just like saying, well, all women love to talk and have connection, and all men only want sex.
Right.
That's not. And
Right.
having that belief system is going to limit your willingness to have conversation and explore the relationship. And so, some for me, right? I love spending money on books. I have so
Mm-hmm.
many books, and like my desk is covered with books, and so I spend a ton of money there. But I
Sure.
will not go and spend a ton of money on clothes or really fancy suits. Like that's just not my value system. Whereas my
Right.
partner can spend more money on nicer clothes and not spend as much money on books, right?
Right.
The spender saver, when you categorize it, oh, she spends, she saves, is too limiting, too
Okay.
limited. Right? You want
Mm-hmm.
to understand, well, everyone spends and saves in accordance with their values. And so there will be parts where I'm going to spend a lot more money on certain areas of my life. There's going to be parts where I'm going to save. And understanding those areas are going to be really important towards creating a really collaborative plan that helps your finances work for you rather than them dictating kind of how you live your life, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. And then again, it's also helpful in the relationship where people are getting to know each other better too. So when you're having these conversations, it's maybe about money, but it's the bigger picture is you're really talking about the relationship.
Yeah, and you're talking about the dreams. You're getting to
Yes. Yes.
know your romantic partner. You're getting to know, oh
Right.
wow, like I never knew that, you grew up not eating really healthy. That's something
Right.
great. Now I understand why going out to eat is so important to you. I get you.
Yes. Yes.
But again, there's the opportunity in the conflict that couples often
Exactly. Exactly. And it shows up a lot in money because money is kind of a polarizing
have. Hmm. Hmm.
theme anyway. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's so interesting because we think about money and we're almost kind of taught this very simple, logical, like, oh, you make more money than you spend, you get a higher, income net worth. Like that's kind of like the basic, really simple thing. And like, if we were to ask like little kids, they go, yeah, like mom wants these things, dad wants to save for these things. They just make sure they have more income than expenses, and that would work out. And so it's a simple equation, but money is much more than just dollars and cents. There's so much
Hmm.
meaning behind it, so much emotions behind it. And when we don't give that the room to breathe and explore, we get into a lot of.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. What do you think couples should focus on when deciding how to spend and save money?
Yeah. So when I look at money, one, having that conversation around the meaning of money,
Hmm.
talking about your values of how you want to spend it, and then prioritizing based on those values, right?
Okay.
Like my partner and I, like we don't really care for a big home, but we want really nice vacations. We want to be able to travel the
Sure.
world and like
Sure.
that. So our money is allocated in that way. And we've made
Okay.
decisions that enable us to move closer and closer towards that lifestyle and experience that lifestyle today.
Mhm.
And so our
Right.
budgeting system, the applications we use tell us where we bucket our money, how much we save, and move us closer towards fulfilling that dream that we have together.
Great.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't even know what their dreams are together unless you're having those conversations.
And that's, again, that's such a great opportunity.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
What
I'm
do you,
liking how you work with couples.
well,
Correct.
just like you said, it's such a great opportunity to go, what do you envision our life to be like in 5 years?
Exactly. Yeah.
What does it look like? What a great way to learn about each other.
Yes. And I know individuals who don't even know where they want to be in 5 years. But when you're a couple, it's actually, I think, probably even more important, because what if you're wanting different things? You really have to come together and talk about those things.
Yeah. And that's, again, if we go back to kind of what we talked about earlier, that conflict where you're butting heads, that's where
Hmm.
we call it gridlock. They're butting heads, they're stuck, and it feels like
Right.
not partner can win.
Yeah.
What we want to do there is, when we notice that, is we start to explore the dreams, right? One partner might want a beach house or want to live in the city. Other partner wants a cabin in the woods. How
Right.
do you navigate those two different dreams? Well,
Right.
one will say, well, we should just put all our savings towards the cabin in the woods. The other one said all our savings towards this place.
Right.
So
Yeah.
when I worked with that couple, what they found out is they put about 60% towards the cabin in the woods, because that seemed to be a little bit more of a push for that. And then they put another 30% just for the city. And like they were able to do some Airbnbs and different things. They became really creative when they
Okay.
started understanding each other's dream, and then go, how could we actually create this to be a win-win situation? How can we
Nice.
to make this work?
Right.
So yeah, it's
Wonderful.
when they can do.
Yeah. Oh, you're cutting out a little bit, or at least on my end. Um, so how do you have couples talk about money?
I really have them talk about the meaning of it and the symbolism behind it.
Okay.
What does it serve? Does it serve for feeling secure and getting a sense of control? Does it give you a amount of significance or social status? And is that really important to you? Adventure.
Sure.
Does it symbolize the possibility of being able to buy a first class ticket to Australia? Like,
Right.
what are things that money can do for you? And so that's really what I'm working with couples. That's what we really focus on.
Okay, that's great too. So what do you think is the benefit of creating a conscious spending plan for the couples?
I think the benefit is, again, it's just like what I said, living in those values, but to live, we also need to understand where things are at currently, right? What are our current required expenses? What are the expenses that we're spending on that we're not aware of? When going through like budgeting or having couples look at that, they often come back and go, oh, we didn't realize we had 4 different subscriptions, one to Netflix, one to Spotify, one to this other membership.
Right.
And they start to become consciously aware of where money is going out, even though they have subscriptions or memberships that they're not using. And so then and we're starting to figure out areas where they can cut back expenses. And then we start to become really conscious about, where do you want this to go? How do you want to use money to live a rich life for you? And that's where we start to bucket out the meaningful goals and how they can start to allocate money appropriately, so they can pay that debt off and still go after chasing those dreams that they have as you, but also couple.
I heard from another expert that most of us, on average, could, if we budgeted or put down all of our expenses, we could pretty much all cut out at least $500 a month. Like you were saying, we all buy these things and then we forget about them and we're not using them, and we could easily not be paying for them. So yeah, So $500 is quite a bit to save each month.
Yeah, and that's actually it was so interesting. So my partner and I, we just moved to a different place, and moving out of the downtown Seattle to where we live now, we're saving $600 a month, and so that's going to some of our bigger dreams and other things, and that's us living in alignment with our values, and then kind of going in alignment with what you're saying. There's a really cool program I use called Why You Need a Budget, and it actually breaks down your income, your expenses, and prioritizes those somewhat for you.
Okay.
And then everything in like money buckets. So I have a certain amount of money for groceries. But let's say one month I want to be a little bit fancier, get some steak and some nicer food.
Sure.
I can then take money from a different area and apply it to that. And so I might a little bit less, but I'm always looking at how I'm balancing my money. And I think it's really cool, at least for our relationship, where we're aware of where our money is going, how it's being allocated, where we're overspending, where we're underspending. And it just is so helpful to have a tool like that.
So Why You Need a Budget is the name of the program?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah.
So how do you help couples create an automated financial system so that they can get to their dreams?
Yeah, so it goes back to the buckets, right? Where is money being allocated? And like working with couples, it's looking at, okay, how do we make a system, right? So we want these dreams, we want this thing, we want to buy this house, we want to buy this vacation home. We get this money that comes at this certain point, right? So let's say today is June 28th. So July 1st, you get your paycheck. That paycheck comes in. What happens to it next? Does it just go right into your checking account and sit there? If so, an opportunity is it goes into your checking account a day or two later. Part of that gets distributed to a saving account focused on vacations, another part on this dream home that you have, part on the emergency fund. And you can automatically have that system set up. And another really cool thing with credit cards that you can do today is you can automatically pay them off each month as long as you're making enough income. Right. Where you can have the billing set up where it's just automatically paid off. And so that I do for retirement, that I do for the dreams. And so really thinking about if we were to create this system, where would and decide intentionally where money would go, what buckets would we create, what's important to us, and then how do we get the banks, the different bank accounts, the different investment accounts all set up so we don't have to think about it and each week going, oh, I need to transfer $100 here, I need to transfer 25 here. Right. It's all automated. And it's such a relief when you get to look over time and go, oh, I've saved thousands in this account and now I have this. And so that's really kind of what we do. Because if it's not automated, oftentimes we won't do it or we'll forget or, we won't get around to it or whatever. So, yeah. I know in The Millionaire, one of I forget, David Bach's books, The Automatic Millionaire, I think that's one of the things he talks about too, is automating whatever you can. Yeah. Right. It's so much less effort. And you mentioned this, it's so much less effort. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to remind yourself. Yes. It's all done for you. Right. And so that's what I would highly recommend. Once you figure out the meaning of it, once you look at your current budget and income and expenses, then you decide your values and how you're going to spend your money going forward. And then you bucket everything. Right. And then you live your life through kind of your financial budget that is allocated towards what's most meaningful for you. And that's how you live a rich life. Right. And one in harmony with your partner too. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Great. Cal, I know that you have a free gift for the audience. Would you describe that? Yeah, so I have a little ebook. It's called Managing Money in Marriage, and it talks about the 7 steps to a wealthy relationship. And so it goes into a little bit more detail than what we've talked about today. It talks about types of questions to learn about the meaning of money, how to prioritize money, looking at some of your budget, and really how to automate your finances so it works for you. And so mainly for couples to create this together.
Okay, perfect. And the audience, all you need to do is click on the button below this video and it'll take you right to Kyle's gift. Okay, well, thank you so much, Kyle. This was really enjoyable, and I learned a lot too. So thank you for that. And also thank you for our listeners for being on the Rewrite Your Money Story series. And tune in tomorrow for our next expert who will be sharing their expertise on couples fighting about money issues and how to help them.